I've had a growing concern with air pollution for about the past decade. Smoke from wildfires rarely blew across my city when I was young, but it's become very common in recent years. Climate change is making most of Western North America hotter and drier, which means more wildfires every summer. Then, just over 5 years ago, a pandemic started. Once it was determined that COVID is airborne, I, like many other people, started to think more about indoor CO2 levels and proper room ventilation. Over the past 2 years, I've bought some indoor and outdoor air monitors. With the indoor air monitors, I watch CO2 levels in my house and, on the one in the kitchen, I can see when someone fries something on the stove. I haven't yet put a monitor beside the litter box to know when it's time to scoop. On the outdoor monitor, I can see when I light the barbecue, when someone in my neighborhood sets off a whole massive amount of fireworks, and, most importantly, when the wildfire smoke rolls in. However, it wasn't enough for me to simply monitor the air around my home. It's well established that SUVs pollute cities, so I wanted to find out how air pollution varies while I'm riding my bike around my city. In this episode of Bike Bike Nudge Nudge, let's look at how I measure air pollution while biking, what levels of air pollution I found on my ride, and what can be done about air pollution in the city. Links to articles and news stories to support my assertions in this video can be found in the show notes. In 2023, I became interested enough in air quality that I decided to get an indoor air quality monitor for my house. I went with an Air Gradient indoor air quality monitor. It's open source, and the thought of writing some code to modify it appealed to me. When I decided I was going to start monitoring the air outside, I bought the outdoor monitor from Air Gradient. I've since bought a second indoor monitor. Air Gradient monitors measure temperature and humidity, which I don't really care about for this video. But they also measure particulate matter, VOCs, and NOx. The particulate matter you usually hear about is PM 2.5, which are particles in the air with a size of about 2.5 micrometers. VOC is short for volatile organic compounds, and NOx is the term for oxides of nitrogen, either nitrogen oxide or nitrogen dioxide. Pollution from SUVs is largely particulate matter, VOCs, and NOx. Though two compounds emitted by SUVs but not measured by the Air Gradient monitors are carbon monoxide and SOx, which are oxides of sulfur. The big problem for my mobile setup is that the Air Gradient doesn't have an onboard memory. I was going to need a method of recording the data. I needed a very small computer that I could carry around on my bike, so I bought a Raspberry Pi. I had been curious about Raspberry Pis for years, but never had a project to justify buying one. The RPi's OS runs Linux, so, at the urging of some coworkers, I downloaded PyCharm and wrote a few lines of Python which asked the air quality monitor for its latest readings. The monitor won't send data through its USB cable, so I also had to set up the RPi as a hotspot, so the monitor can connect wirelessly. As for where to store the data, a Mastodon user suggested InfluxDB. InfluxDB is made for time series data and automatically timestamps each recording. The last thing I needed was power. I had two old USB power banks to power the monitor and the RPi. The RPi complains if it doesn't get 5 amps, but I couldn't find a power bank with that kind of output. I now needed a mobile setup. The mobile setup was the easy part after I figured out everything else. The air quality monitor can be attached to a pole with zip ties. I either put the monitor on the front stem of my Brompton, or I use an old curling broom and bungee cords in my cargo bike. I put a little screw in the broom to keep the monitor from sliding down. The RPi and power banks go in my saddlebag. I have a heatsink case for my RPi so it doesn't get too hot in the bag with minimal airflow. If I do go out to collect data for really long intervals, I might try to get the RPi outside the bag so it stays cooler. The final step is to start the GPS on my watch. I join the spatial data to the air quality data in post-processing. Now it's time to go for a ride. For this video, I went for an 11-kilometer ride around my city. I rode along this bike lane through a residential neighborhood. It's just 1 block away from a busy arterial road, but I hope the air quality will be good, and this section would count as my control sample. You'll see this segment labeled as 102 Ave in my results. The second segment is the high-level bridge, labeled as HLB in my results. As you can see, the bridge is congested during rush hour, and I'm riding into a slight headwind. My last segment is Grote Road. It's also usually congested during rush hour, but this time the road runs inside a valley. My hypothesis was that Grote would be the most polluted because the pollution would be trapped in the valley. The high-level bridge would have some pollution, but since it's open and high above the river, pollution can easily be blown off the bridge and fall down below. And, as I said, I expect 102 Ave would be the least polluted. Now for the fun part of this video, the data analysis. Once I returned home, I downloaded the air quality data from my InfluxDB on my RPi and the GPS data from my watch, and then read both of them into R. My Python script got an air quality reading every 15 seconds, and my watch got a location reading every 2 seconds. Therefore, I joined the GPS data to the air quality data. Since the timestamps are not an exact match, the air quality reading gets the coordinates of the next spatial point, which should be within 2 seconds of the air quality reading. I also used QGIS to create a spatial filter for 102 Ave, the High Level Bridge, and Grote Road, so I could focus my analysis on these 3 areas. So is biking around my city unhealthy for you? Here are the results. This is a box and whisker plot of the CO2, PM2.5, and VOC levels along the 3 sections. The dark line shows the average value, the box and whiskers show the spread of the values, and the dots are outliers. Grote Road had the highest CO2 levels, but the average of 435 parts per million isn't unhealthy. For particulate matter in the air, it was actually the High Level Bridge that had the highest levels. However, 6 micrograms per meter cubed is still considered good air quality. Finally, the VOC data shows Grote Road to have the highest concentrations. Unfortunately, the VOC is only displayed as an index. The mean VOC level over the past 24 hours gets a value of 100. From the box and whisker plot, this means 102nd Avenue has about the same VOC levels as were around my house for the day leading up to my ride. The High Level Bridge was about 25% higher, and Grote Bridge was 2.5 times higher. But since this is just an index, I cannot tell you if I was getting unhealthy levels of VOC while riding up Grote Road beside all those SUVs. I cannot even tell you what the VOCs were, but I assume they are products of internal combustion engines, things like hexanol, acetone, and toluene. So, should you stop riding your bike because of vehicle pollution? From just my one set of measurements, I can definitely say, probably not. The greatest threat to your health when on a bike is drivers. The solution to that is an expansive network of protected bike lanes across your city. If you're worried about pollution while cycling, whether it's from SUVs or wildfires, a good mask will help you out. Just don't wear this type of mask to prevent the spread of disease. These vents keep humidity lower inside the mask by allowing your breath and all the germs and viruses in your breath to escape more easily. Please use an N95, medical, or cloth mask to limit disease spread. And speaking of keeping others around you healthier, biking is a positive feedback loop. While you're getting healthier through exercise, those around you are getting less pollution than if you were driving everywhere instead. Scale up more people riding bikes like Mayor Hidalgo has done, and your city could see air quality improvements like Paris. And that's a look at my mobile air quality monitoring setup. I've only collected data a few times, but the results confirm my expectations that pollution levels are elevated on busy stroads, but it likely doesn't outweigh the health benefits. There are some tests I should still do to make sure my readings are accurate while I'm riding, as opposed to when the monitor is in a fixed location. Please let me know what you thought of this video by liking and commenting. I have a subsequent air quality video planned, so subscribe if you want a notification when it comes out. Thanks for watching.